It's that time of the year where we give our top 3 rap albums of 2024. Lots of projects to choose from, but Tim, what is your first pick?
So a lot of my favorite rap and hip hop projects came out towards the end of this year. There really wasn't that much from the start. So I've had to kind of try and find an order that works nicely with the amount of time I've been able to give them. So my first pick for hip hop album of the year would be The Alchemist with The Genuine Articulate. Now this was dropped in September, and we also did a little review of this earlier in the year. And, you know, I really like this project. There's not a lot of people out there that really listen to The Alchemist or give him the respect that is due. But I think he's quite a formidable force in the hip-hop scene as a whole.
I think his flows on this album, the production was really good. It was all put together nicely, and I wasn't expecting it because The Alchemist is someone that I've not really listened to much, but I enjoyed this album massively. A sneak peek, it's not in my top 3, but I would probably give it an honourable mention.
Yeah, he lends himself to a lot of other artists as well, because obviously he's predominantly a beat maker, but this album really let him shine through on his rap styles, and I was genuinely blown away by how much he managed to keep up with his features, who are also really, really good on this album. And yeah, I think that altogether, the album isn't that long, but it's the perfect length for an Alchemist project, and the beats and the songs in general are just unapologetically Alchemist. And I'm going to go with my top tracks here. So first top track would be everybody's favorite uncle, the fire beat, fire flow, great track all round. Then we've got Diego Maradona, which is a super chill beat, and Alk and Conway the Machine kind of complement each other really well on this track. And then we've got Minnesota Fats, which is my favorite track off the album, has a little bit of a weird intro, then when it kicks in the beat is so hard, and we've got an Action Bronson and a big body Bez on the track again after they fell out a little bit. Just a phenomenal album, phenomenal tracks, and yeah, one of my picks.
What a great album, what a great pick. I'll go in with my first pick, which is Jpegmafia, I Lay Down My Life For You. JPEG has been on fire for many years now, and I think he's reached a new stratosphere of popularity in recent years. The collab albums with Danny Brown, Scaring All the Hoes, did really well, and I think that took him up a level, but it was nice to see his ability to come back to a solo project and really kind of have that in the same realm in terms of production quality, bars and lyrics throughout. I really like Jpegmafia.
What's crazy about Peggy is that on any level, he shouldn't really work in terms of mainstream because his beats are so weird, his flows are so weird, the effects that he puts on his tracks are so unusual, that's a word. And just all round, on paper, he doesn't work, but actually listening to it, he's phenomenal. I fucking love Jpegmafia.
I'll go in with my favourite 3 tracks from this album. I've actually picked up my notes because it's a really long title and a really strange one for the first track.
They always are.
So it's I Scream This in the Mirror Before I Interact with Someone. On this, which is the introduction to the album, the first track, the production is crazy, it's all over the place, and I think it gives you a real good taste of what you can expect from the album in a nice way. Second is I'll Be Right There. This one's a little bit calmer, but a great flow throughout, calm vibes, I love to see it. And the third pick is Either On or Off the Drugs, which again, I kind of prefer those calmer vibes because it really lets JPEG's bars shine through. So they're my top 3 tracks. But
Decent.
Tim, what is your next pick?
My next pick would be Kendrick Lamar with GNX, and this was released maybe a couple of weeks ago prior to recording this. And if this was released earlier in the year and I had more time to really appreciate it, I genuinely think this would have taken the number 1 spot, but due to it being so recent, I don't think it's quite got there for me yet. I absolutely adore this album though, and to release this off the back of the diss war that you had with Drake, which released some phenomenal tracks there, to have this in the bank, for it to be seemingly made in a couple of months at most with all the most recent references in there. How do you even do that?
Well, we were waiting to see if Kendrick was going to drop an album this year before he goes and does the Super Bowl, and this is an absolute banger. I really liked this, and it is in my picks as well, because I think it showed just how much he can make a pop hit at the same time. I know that it's not like pop songs, it's all rap, it's all hip-hop, but a lot of them were really fun tracks, which we hadn't seen for a while, whilst still having some deeper storytelling tracks. I think this album was fantastic. We did review it a few weeks ago, and if you are a big music fan, remember to hit like and subscribe, because we do review a lot of the huge albums across the rap space, across the rock space when they come out. So hit those buttons.
Along with the lyrical content and the flows that Kenny brings, there's a lot of double entendres in there and subtle jabs at people, especially in like the first couple of tracks. And I just really love it when Kenny just goes ham and he says all these things and people will take them how they want to take them. And he'll sit there and just go, yeah, maybe I meant that. I don't know. Maybe I meant that.
I'm excited to hear your top 3 tracks to see if they're the same as mine. So let's go on to that.
So my top tracks are Whacked Out Muriels, which is a fantastic start to the album. It sets it up nicely. You've got some subtle jabs in there, lets you know this is going to be a bit of a different record. Then we move on to Reincarnated, which just has such a 2-pack feel to it that I adore. It feels old school while still being fresh. He's managed to nail that style perfectly. And then my number 1 track, which I absolutely adore, is Squabble Up, because that is the funnest track off the album. It's the most catchy track off the album. And I think Squabble Up is number 1 for me.
Well, funnily enough, we only have one of the same. So I'll start on that, which is Squabble Up, which is the perfect epitome of that fun style, but still a great rap track. My second of my favourite 3 tracks is TV Off. I think the beat switch halfway through, the mustard scream, just really got me. It's entertaining, but goes hard at the same time. And I think shouting out Mustard, the producer, who did such a great job on the album, really brings this track up a level for me. And then my last is Gloria, which features SZA. Really calm song. I think Kenny and SZA work fantastically well together. So those are my 3 picks. But we're on to the last of our top 3 albums of 2024. Rap albums, should I say. What she picked him.
My final pick is going to be Denzel Curry, which isn't a surprise to anybody that knows me. And I'm coming in with King of the Mischievous South, which... With this album, Denzel's consistency is now to the point where I think it's unmatched by anybody in the rap scene. I don't think there's anybody out there that can say they've been releasing albums for over a decade and have had the level of consistency that Denzel has had with every project that he's released.
I completely agree. His live shows absolutely pop off as well. The crowd is always energetic. He actually doesn't lip sync. He's straight spitting bars as he is on his records. Denzel hasn't missed for a long time now. I've liked pretty much every project from him. But what are your top 3 tracks, Tim?
My top 3 tracks off this are Sked, which is disgustingly hard. It's got great production, and it popped off at Leeds Fest when I went to see him. It was fantastic. Then we got Hoodlums, which again goes super hard. The beat switch works really well, and Denzel's fast flow with the beat switch, it's just so good. And my favourite track would be G's Up, which again popped off at Leeds Fest. I hadn't really listened to it prior to that point, but he was getting everybody to do the G's Up, G's, and for not his stage present, he is just at an all-time high. Lyricism, flows, charisma on stage, everything. Bro is absolutely living right now.
Well, shall I go on to my final pick for 2024 rap album of the year? And it's one that I'm surprised you didn't have in there. It's Joey Valance and Bray, No Hands. I thought that this was an incredibly fun album, and it's one that I've actually gone back and listened to a lot more than the other projects because I can just vibe with it. The whole thing is straight vibes throughout the entire record. I love the style. Obviously, everyone compares them to Beastie Boys, but I think especially with a lot of the production on this, they really made it their own.
I mean, they're in there as an honorable mention for me, but what would be your top 3 tracks off this album?
So my top 3 tracks first is John Cena, just because it's called John Cena and John Cena is referenced in a song. I absolutely love that. Great little reference, and they do that throughout the album in multiple tracks. Second is The Baddest. I've seen the crowds for that. It goes off. Such a fun track, just one you could bop to at any moment. And then last is Pack a Punch featuring Danny Brown. I think JVB and Danny Brown are an ultimate combination. The feature works well, the track works well, just love it.
Can't question it at all. Completely valid. They were a contender to be in my list, but I've thrown them in as an honourable mention instead. It was their first album, super fun. I've been a huge fan of JVB since ages ago, so to hear them finally have an album on top of all the tracks and singles that we've heard prior, I think it worked really well, and I'm very excited to see where they could go with this. Do you have any honourable mentions?
Not particularly. Mine would have been the Alchemist project, really. Obviously, Denzel was fantastic. So you go in with yours because you've kind of already mentioned what would have been my honourables.
So I've got one other honourable mention other than JVB, and that would be Bobville in Humble as the Sun. So I've kind of had this an honourable mention because it would have made my top list, but I'm not sure what genre it fully sits in. It's a beautiful blend of punk, hip-hop, grime and rap. Like, it's just everything at once, so it's really difficult to categorize them in one place. They've got a very unique sound. There's not a lot of other artists out there that are doing what they're doing, and it lends itself to the really high energy of the album with the unique sound and kind of catchy choruses, and everything just works so well. And I went to see them live this year, and bro was crowd surfing and sounded exactly the same as he did when he was on the stage. But I knew he wasn't lip syncing. But how do you do that? How do you get that level of core strength to be bouncing around, to be able to deliver the bars as well as you can? But yes, Bob Vylan would be an honorable mention for me.
Well, should we go over and rank these as a top 3? Give our number 1 best rap album of 2024. So I'll start with my top 3 rap albums of the year. Third is Joey Valence & Bray with No Hands. Really fun album. Really liked this. Great artists. Second is Jpegmafia with I Lay Down My Life For You. JPEG is always on fire. Such an incredible project. The production is off the charts. And first is Kendrick Lamar with GNX. Kendrick dropping a surprise album has really made my year. This is, for me, quite high, as in it's way better than the rest of the albums. Production, incredible. Great bad vibes. Love Kendrick.
So for me, my top 3 rap hip-hop albums of 2024 would be at number 3, The Alchemist with the Genuine Articulate, an absolutely fire project that really showcases Alchemist beat making, but also his rapping, which I was very surprised at. In at number 2, we've got Kendrick Lamar with GNX. So this was released not too long ago. Don't think I've quite had enough time to fully appreciate it, but an absolutely phenomenal surprise drop. And in at number 1, I've got Denzel Curry with King of the Mischievous South, which is just adding to his amazing discography. Bro does not miss. Couple of honourable mentions of Bob Vylan, Humble as the Sun, and Joey Valence & Bray with No Hands.
Well, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit like and subscribe. We post all sorts of music content, so if you like music, I'm sure you'll like the channel.
Thank you very much.